Okay, welcome back guys to geometry class. This is on review worksheet B, and it deals with a lot of lines and I guess the different ins and outs of that area, but specifically in the back it deals with transversals, so I'm going to do a quick review on what is a transversal and how you use it to find equations. So most of the questions in your packet are true or false, yes or no. By reading the sections, you'll be able to answer those. So I'm not going to spend time on those. But a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines, each at a different point. Okay, so these two lines would be considered transversals because they intersect two different lines. Okay. They do not have to be parallel, but when they are parallel, certain pairs of angles are created, which is what we're going to talk about today. In your packet, they'll discuss the different types of angles that are made with transversals. Transversals generally either make angles that are congruent, which means equal, or angles that are supplementary, which means they add to 180 degrees, okay? And then they have special names for that. So real quick, I'm going to explain to you or go over the types that they cover in this and then put those to use. So the first type of angles that would be made by transversals for parallel lines would be alternate interior. Alternate interior means that they're on a different side of the line. That's alternate, okay? Interior means they're on the inside. And they tend to make a Z pattern. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to try to do this with a color, but I don't want to mess up my line, okay? But like if I made a Z here, 2 and 7, they're both on the insides of these lines, are alternate interior angles, okay? I could make another Z somewhere in here. I don't know which ones I would make, but they have to be on opposite sides and interior. You look for the Z pattern, and I'll show you a couple more here in a minute, but when we get into the lesson. You got same side interior, which makes sort of a U-shaped, okay? And that could be like 10 and 11. Like if I went down and went like this, 10 and 11, or 6 and 7, and things like that, that would be considered a, even like 5 and 9. They're same side interior on these lines, so those count as same side interior. And then we also have what they call corresponding angles, which mean they're the same angles in a different position due to the shape or form. Corresponding angles usually make an F. Alright, so I don't know if I can get my dark color off of here now that I made my Z. I'm going to have to redo this, but I'm just going to freehand it because I don't have a lot of time. But you pretend like this is a straight line, even though it's kind of wavy. Alright, we'll pretend. Okay, so the F pattern, when we look at corresponding, okay, we could look at like down this line and this one and this one. Okay, so if we have an F, it could be 6 and 8. All right, on the top part of the F, and then below the other one. You could do an F that went this way. Well, my marker's not working. This way. And you could do 12 and 4. Those are corresponding, okay? And they'll list a couple on the worksheet in the page. So those are things that we're looking at today, and I'm going to tell you why we're looking at those. And if you turn to page 35, you'll notice there's a picture that looks like this one, except for I colored all over mine. All right. but it's labeled just like this one, and this is where we take our work from. Above that, there is this gray box, and it gives a postulate and two theorems that talk about alternate interior, corresponding, and same side interior angles. There's also same side exterior and alternate exterior, but they don't seem to cover that today. So the first one says if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. So corresponding is congruent. I got some kind of weird pink and black going on here, but that means they're equal to each other. All right, and then the next one says theorem, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, their alternate interior angles are congruent. So alternate interior are also congruent, which means equals. And then the last one says if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the same side interior angles are supplementary. So same side interior are supplementary, which means they equal 180 degrees between the two angles. Okay, so that's the information we need. So first of all, they give you 4 questions, and it says state what type of angles, and then it says tell if the angles are congruent or supplementary. Okay, so we'll look at number 13 and number 16. There's only 4 in this section. So 13 says angle 2 and angle 10. So we want to tell what kind they are, and we're going to tell if they are congruent or supplementary. So 2 is right here and 10 is right here. When I'm looking at those and I look at the shape of the line, okay, that first of all, they're not alternate interior because they're not across the bar from each other, and then they're not same side because they're not here together. So they have to be corresponding, but if you look, I can make my F there, so 2 and 10 are corresponding. So we would write corresponding, and you can just write core if you want, but don't get it confused with congruent. If they're corresponding, that means they are equal or congruent, so then we would write congruent. And that's all they want on those, but you need to understand the correlation of the angles, okay? So let's look at 16 together. On 16, it says angles 11 and angle 14. All right, let me use blue. 14 is right here and 11 is right there. Well, I can already see that I have a Z pattern, which means they're alternate, and you can see they're on opposite sides. So they are alternate interior, and they are congruent. And that's what you're going to write there. That means if this angle is 40, that one is 40, because congruent means equal. All right, if you got one that were supplementary, and I don't want to use the ones that they used, but let's say they said 10 and 11. Okay, 10 and 11, that's that U shape that we talked about. 10 and 11, they're on the same side, they're same sides. That means if this one was 150, that one would have to be 30 because supplementary adds to 180, and that's how you can find the different correlations, okay? All right, so you flip the page over, and 17 through 20 says find the measure of the missing angle. So now we're going to put this to use. And then 21 through 26 are just asking general questions to make sure you understand this. I won't answer those on here. So between 17 and 20, I will do 20 with you because I know that one is different. And I can't find my towel. Here it is. Try to clean this up as much as I can. I don't know that I can uncolor these. They're just kind of going to be ugly on here. I'll rewrite them a little bit. That's the 2, that one is 10. What was this, 14, I think? And that one's 11, okay? So, we will look at 17 and 20, because there's only 4 here, so I don't want to do them all for you. So problem 17, I'll tell you what they tell me. Now, these don't go together, so if, say, 17 asks you, or tells you angle 2 is 100, that doesn't mean that it's 100 in every one of these problems. Each problem is different. So they say the measure, that's what the M means, of angle 2 is 100 degrees. Find out what the measure of angle 7 is. All right, so when I look at these 2 and 7 here, they're on opposite sides, and they form the Z, so those are alternate interior, which means they are equal or the same. So if this one is 100, wow, I don't know why my degree symbol looks like that. That one is 100, this one is 100. That's all they're saying, okay? So that's what you write. Now when we look at problem 20, my board is still wet. When you look at problem 20, it says the measure of angle 2 is 125. What is the measure of angle 11? Okay, so this one takes a little bit of thought, and that's why I picked it. I wanted to walk you through it. Let me move this. All right. So, angle 2, this one, is 125. All right, and this time they want to know angle 11. Well, we don't have anything right now. There are things, but we haven't learned it yet, or it's not on this worksheet. This doesn't make an F because 10 and 2 would be in the F. This doesn't make a U because they're not right there, and it doesn't, if I made a Z, it would be a weird Z because this one's over here, not here. So how am I supposed to find angle 11 with the information that they've given? Well, what you can do, if this one is 125 and this 7 is its alternate interior, then this one's going to be 125. Now, why should I know that? Okay, well, if you know that, then you can do your U shape here, which makes same side interior, okay? Same side interior is supplementary, which means they add to 180. So even though they didn't give me the information, I could use this to fill in this one, which would then lead me to fill in this one, because this would be 180 minus 125, because that's what these two have to add. And if you think about that, this is a straight line, and straight lines are 180, so that makes sense. So this has to be 55. So 11 would be 55 degrees. Now that's the hardest one. They're not going to make you do that on all of them. But basically, fill in what you can know. It's kind of like a puzzle. If you know this one, that's the same as this one, then go ahead. All right. Then if you looked at these two adjacent angles, which are not on this page, but adjacent angles make 180. This one would have to be 55. And this one would have to be 55 because those are alternate interiors. So if you play around with it a little bit and kind of get the relationship, then it's a lot easier to fill these in. So I hope this helped on this worksheet. Most of the questions are yes or no or true or false. Just read the information and fill them in. And you have about 4 or 5 problems that you got to work out, which is what I covered today. Good luck with it. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless.